The current state of universities and schools is actually old. It's old school. Here's why. First, the teacher needs to understand the thing. So there's the thing, maybe science, then there's the teacher understanding it, then in between the teacher and the student there needs to be communication that is happening, and this communication is also constrained by physical things like I didn't understand the teacher, or by social things like I want the teacher to think that I am smart, or to think that I am not as smart, or to think that I am cool, or whatever. And now the student at a given learning speed needs to understand this thing in classroom with the average learning speed of the other 30 people matched to the teacher's learning speed. So now how to maybe do it better? What if there was the knowledge and then there was you, the student, and in between those two was only one thing, and this one thing would be an adaptive algorithm that is basically an alternative learning program that would have a certain input, and this input could be anything, but of course it had to be checked by facts, just as in school these days. So not checked by facts, but fact checked. And these inputs now would be the thing you could learn. And since knowledge is more and more digital, since basically the current books are more and more digitalized, with Google, for example, scanning a lot of books, even with copyright issues, the only thing you now would need is an algorithm to then basically input the knowledge into you. Because currently we cannot just take an USB stick with a library full of things to know and then plug it into our brain. Neuralink doesn't offer something like this right now. And also in the future, the question is, I mean, this is just one negative aspect of this whole thing, but once you open up the human brain to machine to human communication on a very direct level, on a very low latency level, the problem also is what will people with bad intentions do with this thing. You can basically then probably make a human do anything if you just trigger the right neurons. I mean, people are addicted to things and they cannot do anything else but to feed the addiction. People are psychologically ill, and now imagine in which states you could actually put a human if you just had direct access to his brain. We are actually not that complicated. At least people in 100 years, maybe 200 years, will probably say something like this. And the idea now is, what could you potentially do? But back again to school and to learning. There are already a few iterations of a system like this. Duolingo, for example, does it for languages. The more Duolingo has financial success, the more it can, for example, research better methods to actually make you learn languages. And of course, Duolingo also suffers from an image problem, kind of, because of course it's easier if you just move to a country and be exposed by this language, to this language, like for hours every day, for hours every week, compared to learning 10 minutes on Duolingo. If people actually would apply the same time investment to learning on Duolingo, I mean, I don't know the exact studies on that. I don't know if there are studies on that. It's just Duolingo currently, together with other language learning apps, is an approach to solve this problem. And the better this solution becomes, the better this whole conversation, this whole problem of humanity that has existed until now and will exist until we find a proper solution, and probably then also will be optimized further and further, will persist to exist.